everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. I hope you're all doing very well today. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a boxer in the 1951 Topps Ringside set. It's card number 49, which is Irish Bob Murphy. And this card is actually a short print in the set, and it's considered a key to the set as well. Irish Bob Murphy was born on July 22nd, 1922. His given name was Edwin L. Conardi, and he was born in Flagler, Colorado. And in fact, Ring Magazine named him 100 greatest punchers of all time, which I think is very impressive. At 18 years old, he joined the Navy on March 18th, 1941, before the U.S. Got into World War II. His first ship was the USS Lexington, and on May 8th, 1942, during the Battle of the Coral Sea, the USS Lexington was torpedoed, and of the 2,953 sailors on board, 216 lost their lives. The next ship that he was on was the USS Alabama, and this was Bob Feller's ship. And Irish Bob Murphy was on both of the boxing teams of these two ships. And while he was in the Navy, he never lost a fight, which was really impressive to me. When he got out of the Navy, he actually fought out of San Diego, and his first fight professionally was on August 24th, 1945, and he defeated Raymond, Ray Raymond. Anyway, he won the next four fights after a TKO by Homer McGraw. I'm not entirely familiar with either of these two boxers, but on 11-2, he won the next seven fights, and it was basically it was a technical draw with Homer McGraw there. So he then went on to win another 20 in a row until 1949, when he lost to Kenny Watkins. And again, he's another fighter that I'm not terribly familiar with. A lot of these fighters that he's fighting against, I'm just not familiar with at all. I really, there's a lot of fighters at this point in time, and they kind of come and go, and it's really hard to kind of keep track of a lot of these guys. But Ring Magazine, if you guys have ever read any of these magazines from the 1930s or 40s or 50s, it's a great magazine, and I highly recommend checking out. I think Nat Fleischer was the, I guess, for lack of a better term, inventor of Ring Magazine, and Ring Magazine actually has a Hall of Fame, or it did up until about 1990, and then there was another Hall of Fame that kind of took its place. So Ring Magazine was a very influential magazine in its day, and I have had a hard time trying to locate back issues of Ring Magazine from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. I would love to get my hands on a bunch of those, but they're just really difficult to find, and they can be kind of expensive. But in any event, let's get back to Bob Murphy here. So he won a fight against Jake LaMotta at Yankee Stadium on June 27th, 1951. And Jake LaMotta is a gentleman that I knew, and I've done artwork for him in the past when he was alive. I think he was 94 years old when he passed away, which was really unusual for a boxer. I can talk about Jake LaMotta in a different video, but he's someone who could take multiple punches before getting one punch in. He's a very, very tough guy. In any event, he then went up against Joey Maxim in Madison Square Garden, and that was for the world heavyweight title. And really, Murphy was a favorite to win this match. He was a 5-12 favorite, in fact, and Maxim destroyed him. And so Maxim is also in the Hall of Fame as well, aside from Jake LaMotta. I really didn't see during Murphy's record that he was fighting future Hall of Famers. So These two guys kind of really stand out, and both of these fights really stand out as well. On June 11th, 1952, Murphy lost against Jake LaMotta, and this is really when Murphy kind of goes downhill as a boxer. He loses four straight fights, and he retired on April 24th, 1954, and this was kind of right after the Boxing Association ordered him to retire for the good of boxing. In the end, his record was 65 wins, 11 losses, and one tie. And from what I've heard, he was a devastating puncher. He really was a really, really decent boxer. But injuries caught up with him and he had to retire. As far as his nickname went, Irish Bob, a lot of people have speculated on this, and his relatives actually said uh, to the press later on that he had stated, "What other name could I use with this Irish face of mine?" And he legally changed his name to Robert M. Murphy. Early on the morning of August 17th, 1961, Irish Bob Murphy was either in a car or a motorcycle. I've actually heard both stories. And he ended up crashing into a truck and he broke his neck and passed away. And we don't really have a whole lot of cards for him. The biggest one here is the 1951 Topps Ringside, and it is a short print, as I've said. I'm not entirely sure why this card would be a short print. However, I do know that Topps actually issued documents for the boxers to sign and bring back to the company, basically a permission slip, if you will. And this allowed the company to publish the players or the boxers' cards. And I've actually heard too that they tried to send one to Rocky Graziano, and he kind of like tore it up or he didn't sign it. And he's another story for another time. But Rocky Graziano was that kind of guy to be very litigious against companies trying to uh, get his advertising dollar, if you will. And I will be talking more about Graziano in another video. But uh, this is a card that is on a lot of want lists, and I've seen it quite often. In fact, it is pretty expensive. The cheapest I've seen it is probably around $300 range, and it can go up from there. So it is on my want list. Whether I achieve my personal goal of getting this card or adding it to my collection, I don't know. I have no idea what will happen. And that's one of the fun things about the hobby, in fact, is that you never know what you're going to see. And you never know what you're going to be able to purchase either. Sometimes you'd be surprised about what you can achieve. I actually think Irish Bob Murphy is a very good boxer. I don't know how good he is enough to get into the Hall of Fame. He might not actually have the years behind him. I'm just not familiar exactly how boxers are basically inducted into the Hall of Fame, what criteria they need to be inducted. It's something I haven't really looked at in its entirety. It's kind of interesting that he ended up on Bob Feller's ship, and I kind of wonder if these two ever met each other. That'd be kind of neat. I don't really think so, but I don't know what Irish Bob Murphy actually did in the Navy other than box. And Bob Feller, when he was on board the USS Alabama, he was basically a captain of a gun crew. He probably wouldn't have met Bob Murphy. Who knows, though? The ships at the time were kind of segregated based on rank. If Topps used the color lithograph style of the ringside set for the baseball cards for 1951, I think that you would be looking at a lot more money and a lot more desirability for the baseball cards. That would have been really neat. In fact, they had the capability of doing it. I'm not sure why they did. In fact, issue the Topps baseball sets in 1951 as a game. In fact, I'm not even sure what that game was. I know that the 1951 Topps bluebacks and redbacks are not that popular, and Topps really didn't make a whole lot of money off those two sets. I'm not sure how much money they made off the ringside either, but it is a really neat set, and I kind of wish that Topps continued to issue boxing cards. They never did. This is their only set. As far as Bowman is concerned, I know that prior to World War II, they were thinking of issuing a set that had boxers in it, along with football players, tennis players, and other stars. And that would have been really cool. However, the Japanese thought otherwise, and we got into World War II. So, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I really wanted to kind of discuss this too, and if you guys have any favorites in the 1951 Topps Ringside set, let me know. This set is really nice. There's a lot of Hall of Famers to choose from. This particular card is on my want list. It's a very nice card, in fact, and maybe someday I'll be able to grab it. But in the meantime, I'd love to hear your comments on this particular card and in this issue as well. So, again, guys, I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.